Strike a Chord, music chit-chat with your host, Valentino Kikowski. Welcome to the Strike a Chord podcast and welcome to Oscar Poncell, great musician, great guitarist, good friend of mine. Welcome, Oscar.
Thank you, Valentino. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me over here at Yesteryear. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolute pleasure, and it's all ours. So, Oscar, I got you on this podcast to have a chat about what you do, what sort of guitarist you are. And also, I know you play various different instruments as well. So, and coming from the South American background, you play a bit of the tres and a bit of a few other things.
Yeah.
But on top of all of that, you also do a bit of loops and everything like that. So, in this podcast, I want to pick your brain a little bit.
Sure.
Get inside your brain and see how it all works.
Yeah,
so
sounds good.
you want to just tell us a bit about yourself and what you do here in Melbourne and everything like that.
No worries. I was born here in Australia, and at the age of 13 and 14, moved to South America, to Chile, with my parents and my siblings, and that's where I started to pick up the guitar, in terms of learning stuff, and there was a good learning curve there, learning a bunch of different stuff. We start with grunge music and metal, and
grunge and metal in South America.
It's huge.
I know.
Huge.
I know.
Huge.
There's thrash metal is pretty big in Brazil. So metals.
That's right. We had influences like Sepultura.
And the one and only.
Pantera. And then there was all these Chilean bands that were really phenomenal. And one of my teachers was a phenomenal guitarist, and he kind of inspired me to get into it even more, go more serious.
Yep. So
then I found another teacher who was all into the blues stuff, and he knew his neck really well, his whole
chops.
neck, his chops. He had it all sorted out, and it was just amazing to watch. So it was really inspiring. And so then in Chile, I was studying a mechanical engineering degree.
Okay.
And I got through 2 years of it, and then went on a little holiday, and I've just realized that I had an epiphany,
As we all do.
Yeah. Had that musical epiphany. And I decided to move back to Australia to study music.
And pursue it.
Full time, like a career, and make something of it,
Good on you.
And I've been here since, so that was 2000.
So you're born here.
Yeah.
Am I correct? You're born, you went there, you came back.
And came back, yeah.
Okay.
At 20 years old.
How'd you find coming back here?
It was a bit confronting because in Chile I felt like home, here, part of the reason why we left was because here we never felt like we were from here,
Yeah.
And I was getting up to no good in school and all of that stuff.
One of those bad boy musicians.
One of those bad boys. And then, Chile was a big eye opener because, you're from the culture. No one questions you where you're from unless I talked English,
Yeah.
I had my accent and stuff, but they embrace it,
Yeah.
At least where I was, And so it was really confronting. And then I came back here and it was just I remember this Australian way of life, but it's, it was completely different. Different kind of friendship circles and different ways of the culture,
It's just different.
It's just different,
And I think also because of all the cultures here, it's a melting pot. So you've got a whole bucket of all these different cultures put in there, and then you're sort of you're looking at people differently. People are looking at you differently. Your approach to people is different. It's different cultures. You need to respect different cultures. You don't know whether, when you say something, whether it's accepted in their culture, and I think that's the same with the music as well. You got there's all sorts of music here in Melbourne, and when you go and watch it, sometimes you're not used to listening to those sounds. You're not listening to a certain instrument or anything like that. So did you find that when you came here musically, we know the characteristics of the people and stuff, but musically, when you came back, how did you go back into the music and into gigging and into recording and everything like that?
Yeah, well, that's it's an interesting question, and it was there was multiple facets, I guess, like, you know, trying to break into the industry and stuff. But I was lucky that, you know, I was into playing percussion music, and so my first gig here in Australia was playing percussion in a salsa band.
What,
you know,
what sort of percussion
I
was
was
it?
playing bongos and bell,
Okay.
and guido,
Yeah.
and singing and doing choruses with a big salsa band.
Who was that with?
It was called Sonora America.
Okay, Sonora America. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
Sonora America.
Yeah.
Pepe.
Yeah, a while ago.
Yeah, a long time ago, out in the bullring days, you know.
Yeah, in Combo, La Revolution
Combo.
as well, and I think
There's-
they were the big days.
Yeah, it was
the bullring
good.
was
You know,
huge.
it was huge. Thursdays and
That's
Friday,
right.
Saturday nights, I had the flamenco show
Yeah,
with Angel,
with Angel Brujo.
El Brujo.
Yeah,
He'll get upset when we're like doing our little
As a
sound
Brujo
check,
does.
you know. But yeah, that was my first gig, you know.
Okay.
And then I started going. I found the samba school, and I started going to the samba school
Yeah.
because I really dig the Brazilian stuff.
Oh, don't we all? I love it.
Percussion is like a big thing of mine, you know.
We got Roland, who's our main sound guy here.
That's
He's,
right.
he's Brazilian. He
Yeah.
knows everything about it, and he's a very good guitarist as well. So
I didn't know you play guitar.
yeah,
man.
yeah, he plays very good guitar. He plays all
that's
samba bosses. He's well into it. We're
Alright.
gonna do something with him.
Got to do an interview.
Yeah, I am. But we're also trying to put something together with Brazilian style flamenco sort of stuff. So,
Okay, yes.
but he's
Sweet.
very good. But he doesn't like talking about it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. After all these years. Yeah. So then breaking into the scene, I was also studying. I started doing the jazz course at the TAFE. What was it? NMIT,
I did that one.
which is the Collingwood Yards
Yeah,
now.
yeah, the Collingwood Yards. I
And
did one
PBS?
in Greensboro, but I used to go to Collingwood as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
With Jack Pantazis.
that's right. Jack
Yeah.
Pantazis was he was my second great teacher here. My first awesome teacher was Mario Genovese. You know Mario?
No, I don't.
He's like he's like from the VCA days with
Okay.
I think it's like Doug DeVries and
From that generation, that sort of
that
school.
generation, yeah. And he put me onto really cool, really good guitar stuff.
Yeah.
And then Jack as well put me onto like, you know, players like Joe Pass and
Yeah. Jack
Jim
is
Hall.
great.
and
Though.
Jack's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a great teacher, really good educator. And then I had like Tom Fryer,
Yeah.
Craig Fermanis,
Yeah. Yeah.
Steve Maggs.
So you opened up this world of these great guitarists, and you thought, hang on, now it's time to diversify. And now it's time to go into
yeah. It's just opened up a bag of worms, you know. It's just like far out. You see all this jazz stuff, and it's just like going past you, and just like got to learn all this stuff, and then also trying to do other things. And at the same time, this is what I feel like happens to a lot of people is like when you come back from your country and you come and do music in a whole different place, it feels like you return, your roots start pulling, you know,
Yeah. Okay.
and you start to learn about your culture and playing salsa music and all of that. I was like, all right, I have to learn about this, get my ears soaked in all of that stuff, and then it just stems to like all the Latino stuff and the Brazilian stuff, and then
it just goes to show how many things you take for granted sometimes, you know, like because you lived there, right?
Yeah.
And you came back here, and then you started learning, and you started trying to keep that culture, you know.
Yeah, you know, at some point in Chile, like, you know, listening to cumbia music and that dancey music, it was kind of daggy at some point, you know. To me, it was like
completely understand.
you know, I'm not going to dance that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then he little did I know I was going to be on stage playing like a widow and going, you know, like.
Yeah, but that's what happens. Like, for example, I lived in Spain and I also lived in Macedonia for a bit, and my background is Macedonian. But I used to take that for granted, and now I like look back and I think there's some really nice stuff, you know. And you think sometimes you're in that thing where you think, oh, it's daggy, but now when you get more mature and you start getting those things pieces and working it and making it your own, and you think, oh, this is not so bad, you know.
Yeah, and it's connection, you know. It's connection to something greater or older, you know. reminds you, it just brings you back, you know.
Yeah, nostalgia.
Yeah, nostalgia. I play that music like I got into the Peruvian stuff and the Chilean stuff through my parents, and you know, like, and I play that music and it just, you know, it just takes me back to those roots, you know.
Yeah.
My grandparents and listening to their waltzes and Peruvian
Yeah.
stuff, and it's like,
And it's great
awesome.
music.
It's beautiful stuff.
It's beautiful
You know,
stuff.
yeah.
Very melodic, very ahead of its time. A lot of it, you know. You think some of the chords that are in there, the structures, and you think,
Yeah, there's a lot
way
of,
back then they were thinking of these arrangements. They were putting these things together, you know. And
yeah,
sometimes we rack our brains to put something so simplistic and so beautiful together. We have to go through all these complications and then come back and see it's here. It's actually, that's what it is. You know?
yeah. Sometimes it's way more simple than you think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly. And we overthink things sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not quite sure about you, but me sometimes being a guitarist, you overthink things and you think, why is this happening? Why is it such a struggle sometimes? You know, and then you have a rest. You come back to the guitar, or maybe the next day, and you think, hang on, let's strip all this back.
Yeah.
This is what it is. This
Yeah.
is actually good. You know, instead of putting all this stuff and complicating things and overthinking things. You know.
Well, it's a really hard instrument to play.
It is. I agree.
You know, I say to my students when, you know, they're struggling with bits and pieces, I'm like, I say to them, I know what you're thinking. I know, like, you're thinking, I got to press these strings, I got to pluck it at the right time, and then they got to think about reading, and then they got to think about time, and it's all this stuff going on. And then just imagine, like, you're like performing, you got like performance nerves, anxiety, or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
You got to keep it real on stage, you know. There's so much going on.
So much.
It's
And that's
full
part
on.
of the challenge of being a musician as well. It's not just, you know, I'm going to play this instrument. It's everything that happens around.
Yeah,
You know?
that's right.
And that's a very big thing for a musician because, as you said, the performance, you know, what do I do here? Do I, you know, sometimes you don't remember things on stage. You have to wing things, you know. And, you know, that is experience in itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've been in the same situation where you've played with people that you haven't played with a lot. You're winging things or, you know, you got to get your repertoire up. So you're winging things and, you know, after it's all said and done and after the gig's finished, you're exhausted, you know?
Yeah. For sure, yeah. I had a fair share of performance anxiety that I had to deal with over the years going through uni and stuff like that. And that's a lot to deal with, you know. It's really hard, and sometimes you just like put so much pressure on yourself. Where I've learnt these days, it's, you know, not to take it as serious, to kind of relax with it, you know.
So that's how you deal with anxiety, with performance anxiety.
Well, yeah, I've also
One of
took
the
up a
things.
bit of meditation and breathing exercises to really calm the nerves, you know. And I started doing that when I started getting my first few solo gigs.
Okay.
And just like going to the gig and just like, you know, driving to the gig and freaking out, just going like, oh crap, I gotta, you know, put on the performance. I hope I remember everything, this and that. And it's just your brain's going nuts.
It's a different beast playing on your own.
So one day I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna sit down, find a quiet place, breathe a little bit, and then just see how we go.
But good on you for throwing yourself into that sort of a gig because they're the toughest gigs, the solo gigs. You know, I've done a lot of them, and I still have that. You know, as I said, on the way to the gig, you have those butterflies, you have those, you know, how it's going to be, how am I going to do this, and things that you're not sure of. You know, you're trying to remember, but at the end of it, you feel a great achievement. You know.
Yeah, and that's part of the process. You know, like as you say, it's putting yourself out there, upping your game a bit, trying to play a bit better.
Kicking your own ass,
you know, slugging your back. But it gets better in the end. And then like after a while, I don't know, I'm like, I've been doing this now like almost, 25 years. And now I feel like I'm a bit more comfortable with where I'm at and with what I can do.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've learnt a lot. You know, so I'm really enjoying being able to express those things, you know, when I can.
Yeah.
Also putting myself out there a little bit more, going to some jazz jams and stuff that, I wasn't doing a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because it was just a bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
These days it's like, all right, I can go and play chords and
Yeah.
I can,
A
defend
company or
myself a
something.
little
Yeah.
bit, like.
And that's
Yeah.
good. If you don't put yourself there, you'll stay at the same level. You won't get to that next step or the next level where you want to go.
Yeah.
And that's really good that you're doing it, because not a lot of people have got the balls to do that as well. You know?
It's a high pressure gig if you're going to like improvise jazz and stuff, and then you got some really good players. And it's just like,
I was going to
whoa.
say you must be in thick of it with some really good players and thinking,
Yeah.
hey, what's going on here? You know?
But it's cool. It's a good vibe. It's always nice and supportive and stuff. So it's
I noticed, because we've rehearsed, we've played before, and one thing I've noticed with your guitar playing, it's very melodic, it's very gentle, it's very, very easy to play along with, Do you make a point of playing like that, or does it come naturally, or are you conscious of that?
Yeah, I am conscious of that. I deliberately try and approach the instrument in a gentle way. My influences are like, my strong influences are like players like Joe Pass, Baden Powell.
Yeah.
Oh man, Jim Hall. I think Steve Maggs is one of my favorite players ever, and he's got such a gentle touch.
Yeah, because I noticed when you played the Venezuelan waltzes, you had a very nice touch there, and you played it very flowingly.
Yeah,
and that's how they need to be played.
Yeah, I like that approach. I really dig that approach to really bringing out the subtleties in the instrument. Although sometimes it's really easy just to overdo it on the nylon string. It's just like to overplay and
easy.
Really.
And that's when you want to
and stuff.
You want to smack yourself in the head.
Yeah,
and it's already happened. It's like I want to turn back time and delete that.
Yeah.
I've done it so many times.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's also a bit of eagerness to get to where you're getting as well. And,
True.
And I noticed that you have that calmness in your playing. We'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Yeah, I try.
Yeah,
And there's players like Miles Davis and guys like that.
Yeah, but
they need to play. They just play two notes and you're gone.
It's how you play those two notes.
Yeah,
and the timing of it. I sometimes not playing is the trick as well.
Yeah.
Knowing
space.
when with space, yeah. It's like, especially when you're playing with others and you're accompanying. Like I've accompanied singers a lot in the past, and accompanying singers is a different kettle of fish. You have to give them space.
Yeah.
Sometimes they want to elongate a note. You have to give them space. Sometimes they don't play in some places. And this is where they, it happens.
Yeah.
But that should be also the case when you're playing with another person. If you're playing with another guitarist and you're doing runs and passages harmonically, that's a different story. But if you're accompanying and you're trying to keep the foundation, you have to be like that. Like you're playing, you need to be gentle. You need to be a bit flowy. You need to be a bit of that. So you give the other person that you're playing with the chance to do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But it has to be in reverse as well.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta learn to take both roles.
Correct.
And that's where it's like I've accompanied a lot of singers, and I've learned a lot about accompanying singers and not getting in their way.
Yeah.
Trying not to overplay. And another thing is like, that I try and work now is a bit more of like, not just playing a chord because that's the chord, try and voice it in a way where it's really helping the melody, That's another thing,
That's an art.
It's a work in progress,
yeah. But you're conscious of it.
But always striving towards it.
That's great. You're conscious of it.
Yeah.
There's a few musicians that they're not conscious of it.
Yeah. Well, man, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. That's right. That's right.
So yeah, I'm sure I've done many mistakes.
Oh, haven't we all?
Over the years. But it's good to learn all this stuff and realize, what's going on and trying to fix that stuff up. You
Yeah.
know?
I think,
Yeah.
and when you know a few other instruments, you know what they're supposed to sound like, and you can hear it in your head of how you're going to accompany with that instrument and with this instrument and everything like that. And I think this is a segue to, you know, the ability of yours of having, you know, the ability to play the tres, having the ability to play percussion, having the ability to play. I think there's another instrument. Is it that you play the?
I play tiple colombiano.
The tiple colombiano. That's it.
Yeah. Well, so the tiple colombiano came because I was learning Afro-Cuban music. It was like fully crossed paths. We started a band with a few friends.
San Lazaro?
No, this was called Tony Montuno.
So
instead of Tony Montana,
Tony Montuno.
Tony Montuno.
So you were playing the Montuno as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I picked up the tiple there because it was the only instrument that we had that was similar to a tres.
Yeah.
And it was a beast. No, it wasn't a beast of a guitar. It was a pretty shitty guitar.
But a beast of an instrument.
Beast of an instrument to learn.
Yeah.
But like the strings were like this far off.
Oh, the
neck,
action was like,
you know, it's just like But
you could have fixed it yourself.
Well, back then I was just learning. You know, I had hair too. So yeah, we put together this band, and I was learning the tiple, and then you know, the cool thing about that was that all the Chilean music that I listened to, Inti Gimani, for example, and Victor Jara's songs and stuff, they all have tiple. So I got to learn that stuff and play with the Chilean community, songs on tiple, Afro-Cuban stuff with the tiple. And then a few years down the track, probably 10 years, I fixed up a guitar, like a 3/4 size guitar, and made it into a tres.
Okay.
Cuban style, you know, like the Cubans do.
Yeah.
And I, you know, it was pretty crappy sounding, but I got the mechanics of it.
And you developed
the logistics of it, and I developed it. I started learning, just playing along to songs. You know, that's what I try to do to learn stuff, is play along to.
And that's how you learn.
That's how you learn. That's the way.
That's
you know,
how you learn.
Yeah, the flamenco stuff.
It's
all ear, you know.
That's right. That's all it
is.
is.
The jazz stuff as well.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and it's all about listening to what's happening in the background as well. While the singing is going on, what's happening in the background?
Yeah.
Now what's the guitar doing? Oh, what's the drums doing? Oh, what's the bass doing? Oh, what's
There's a lot of homework.
Yeah.
Learn the melodies, learn the chords.
A lot of analyzing.
So I took up the tres, and then we recorded with. During all of that time, I started a band called San Lazaro.
Yeah.
With a few friends of mine.
Yep.
Which is still going. 19 years on, we're still going.
It's a long period for a band.
A massive period for the band. It's like a marriage. It's like a hectic marriage, man. It's full on. But I love it. I love the band, and I love the music that we've done over the years. It's been really.
You've recorded a few things as well, right?
Yeah, we've recorded three.
Recording
works.
a band like that, you guys just jumped into a studio and recorded, or you guys did it separately? How did that happen?
Yeah, well, our first recording was done, you know, we had a residency at the Gershwin Room at the SB for almost a whole year. So we saved up all that money, and we got Adam Rhodes, engineer, who's like a Cat Empire dude, mixing engineer, and we went to Sing Sing recording studio.
Okay.
And just like, you know, just lashed, you know, put it out there, and we just went for a really awesome recording, you know.
Yeah.
Beautiful room, beautiful process of recording.
So
you know,
a year's worth of gigs.
The whole year, you know, it was like, you know, close to 15 or something, I don't know, something like that. And we got to pay for this thing, and we had a really organized manager back then, and we did this awesome recording. That was our first recording of the first kind of instance of the band, where we were like learning Latin music, but we had all these other influences. You know, we had hip hop, we had jazz, we had funk, reggae.
Cumbia, I've heard the funk in there.
Yeah. So then we did that album, and then a few years later, we recorded an album more home style. Yep. Just here in Hope Street, where I got my studio.
Yep.
Just down the road. We did that recording, and the last recording was done at Sound Park Recording Studios.
Okay.
That was the last album we released in 2016. So that's 3 albums, or 1 EP, 2 albums.
Yep.
And before the lockdowns and everything, we got given a grant from the Australia Council. We
Yep.
won a grant to write 10 new songs
Okay.
for the
That's good.
band. Not even
cool.
record them, just
Just
like
to write 'em.
To write them. So we had a whole year to workshop these songs. We had 2 teams because I'm a chord player. We got Romy, who's a chord player, who's a fantastic. Romy Hernandez, who's a fantastic piano player. She arranged the music also. And we had a team. We had 2 teams, like so me playing guitar, her playing piano with a singer, me with a singer, and writing. We're just writing ideas, you know.
Yep.
Just seeing how we go, and we put them all together, make the song, and then Romy would arrange the horns for it.
So with these songs, was it meant for the San Lazaro band, or was it just to write them and possibly give to someone else to interpret?
No, this is for the band,
Okay.
San Lazaro. Yeah, it's for the band. So so we got to document this thing. We did a live rehearsal.
Yep.
Documenting with a 360 camera, full all everything mic'd up.
Awesome.
Really nice recording. Done at the convent.
At the convent, absolutely.
Yeah, at the convent, and we got our fans to come and watch the
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 recording.
recording. So we sat in a circle, and they all sat around us.
You're in the round. You're in the
Yeah,
round.
it's kind of like that. What do you call it? Who was those guys that record like that?
I know they do it in Abbey Road Studios. I think so in one of the rooms there.
Like Snarky Puppy, those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, but without the headphone, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
not so
Yeah,
produced.
yeah.
But it was a good process, and the songs are different. You know, we went straight down the Afro-Cuban timba vibe, and you know, it's pretty heavy on that
Yep.
sound. So it's pretty Cuban, very modern Cuban
Okay.
jazzy style. So the band's gone through a few facets. You know, we've done candombe. You know, I love
Yeah.
candombe music,
Yeah.
so I've written some candombes in there.
You've got a lot of inspiration with different sorts of music.
Oh
Oscar,
yeah,
you know your brain must be leaking and this
I
and
listen to
exploding
music.
and
Yeah, I listen
you
to
know,
music and I
you-
go, how can I do that?
and you just
It's just like
you just go and do it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. But sometimes, well, for me, I'm the same. But sometimes it stresses me out. It's like I gotta switch off, you know. Sometimes or change the gears, you know. Change the speed, you know.
Yeah.
But
I don't know
it's-
how I do it, man. Like sometimes I just like I get home and I put YouTube and watch some dude nerding out on
that can be another rabbit
soloing
hole.
over chord progressions and stuff. Like you
I
know,
know.
I just like never turn off.
And then
It's
and
so
then
hard.
and then you know it's like sometimes I can't even go to bed because you got all these things in your head, all these melodies, or
Yeah.
you know it's,
That happens to me after gigs.
Yeah,
Yeah, after gigs.
Yeah,
just,
I
I'm
can't go to
racing.
bed straight after gigs either.
Yeah,
It's like I have to settle down, you know,
yeah,
probably watch a bit of TV
yeah.
and then go to bed.
That's
you know.
it. That's
Yeah,
it.
it's gigs are they're quite. It
Gets
can be
the-
quite exhausting.
Yeah, it gets
sometimes.
adrenaline going.
Yeah, especially if it's a big
know?
gig. You know,
Yeah.
like if there's a lot of people and there's it's
Yeah.
pumping.
Yeah,
They're the big ones. you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Then you got your solo ones where you want to go home and rest, you know. But it's everything's got its own beauty. Every gig's got its own beauty. Everything's got its own place. You know,
Yeah,
different character of people. You're playing differently. It's a different setup. It's
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but it's you're trying to challenge yourself all the time. You know. But I know, like when you do your solo gigs, do you use loops? Because I know you use loops. You're well into the loops, yeah.
yeah. There's 2 types of solos gigs that I do. Where I just do like instrumental stuff.
Yep.
And that generally goes down well at like weddings or
Mm.
those kind of receptions like the RACV
Yeah.
building and stuff
Yeah,
like that. You
yeah.
know. But probably like since 2016, I've been singing I've been like doing more singing
Yep.
solo gigs, and that's getting a lot better. So now I try to mix up singing songs or even writing my own stuff.
That's good.
And then there's like gigs that you could do, like say for example, Bar Ruza I've done a few times, doing the looping thing with a drum machine
Yeah.
and my loop, and then the guitars, and then I sing, put the guitar down, and I don't know, do multiple things, and it's really cool because you got multiple layers of things that you can do, and it's also you're limited to, well, I'm limited to 2 tracks,
Okay.
2 loops that are timed to the same length, so
Yeah.
you got to kind of play with that and make it interesting for the listener.
It's a different dynamic,
It's
isn't
a different dynamic. I don't like to do the looping thing where you're like playing 8 bars of a shaker and then 8 bars of a clave stick.
it? By the time you get to the melody, the song's done. It's 10
everyone's
minutes
left,
in.
you know.
Yeah, I know.
So-
I've been trying to do that with flamenco stuff, and it's challenging, and because flamenco sometimes works in 12 bars.
Yeah,
By the time you do the one compass, the second compass, you know, you've only done the compass, right? So you have to start playing.
yeah. You
have to start playing,
yeah,
otherwise
that's
it's
it.
you know.
Yeah,
But I know what you mean, and it's a challenge.
it is.
But
it is.
you know, if you can get that going, it's a different dynamic. It's quite good.
Yeah,
You know, like,
yeah,
and you know, you got to play in that time all the time. You
Yeah.
can't speed up. You can't slow down.
no,
you know?
no. There's like I say, there's limitations that you have to just go ahead and work with them, you know, because
Yep.
that's the nature of the setting. And these days, you know, that's a thing. It's a thing. Like these days, the looping artists is a thing.
Yep.
There's multiple styles of looping
Yep.
that you can do. I try and keep it quick and straight into the music.
Yep.
I guess if I did buy a different looping pedal, I would have different tracks.
Well, that's your next
where I
step.
could, yeah, you know. But yeah, you got to learn it. You got to learn your equipment.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good thing. Also, is, you know, doing is learning. You know, same for my studio. I try and just like learn my gear by just working on my stuff.
Yep.
You know, and tweak and learn how everything works. You know, learn on the gig.
You've got a really good studio. I've been
Yeah,
in, and
thanks,
it's
man.
a really nice studio, and
Cheers.
it's got a good vibe. So I know
Yeah.
I know that you probably want to spend all your day in there and your whole day.
Yeah,
So-
I'd love to.
Yeah.
yeah,
But it's a nice little
So-
studio. It's very close here. It's just up the road.
yeah, just up the road.
Yeah.
So-
And I think going to a studio and going to somewhere to rehearse is very important, because sometimes when you do it at home, you know, it's like, you know, you're gonna rehearse, but I'll have a coffee now, or you get caught up with other things.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're going to a recording studio or you're going to a studio to rehearse, you're going for that sole purpose to rehearse.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Or to work on your art.
That's right.
know?
Yeah, I head in there and I try and get something done, at least one
Yeah.
thing. You know,
Yeah.
even if it's as simple as writing a little riff, or as simple as working on a mix.
Yep.
You know, building it up, or finishing some songs, bits and pieces. That's like it's a win.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure is.
because it costs money,
It does.
and.
Not all musos are millionaires or
No,
billionaires.
that's right. That's right. So
Yeah.
I'm lucky I got a teaching job where this is, you know, I can warrant
Feed
paying.
your obsession.
That's it. That's it.
Feed your
And I
obsession.
love it. I love it. So I'm going to try and keep that going.
And
yeah.
that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to keep it going.
Yeah.
But look, Oscar, it's been a pleasure having you on this podcast, and it's been really good getting inside your head and getting
Yeah,
you know the
cheers.
insight of your musicality as well. So thanks for
Cheers.
coming on along, man. So it's
Yeah.
been a pleasure.
Awesome, Valentino. Thank you. Thanks for having me. And it's really
been
great
a pleasure.
to be here
Been a
too.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
Also want to thank Yesteryear Revival for their support, as well as my production team, as well as always, and Cake Eclipse for their support as well with these lovely cakes. And see you on the next podcast.
Awesome. Salud.
Salud. All the best, man.
Gracias.
Hope you enjoyed the Strike a Chord podcast. Be sure to visit valentinoflamenco.com to access more podcast episodes, news, and other projects that I'm currently working on. Thanks for listening and watching.